The cage in the sky. They said I brought life to dead worlds. They never asked what I took in return. From the outside, my ship looked like any other scavenger's crate drifting between forgotten stars. Inside, it was a museum of cages, some empty, some still breathing, transparent shells of energy, each containing something that once belonged to a world now lost or sold. My name doesn't matter anymore. What I do does. I hunt living things that shouldn't exist, and I sell them to people who shouldn't buy them. Some call it preservation, others call it desecration. For me, it's survival. I remember the first time I trapped a creature that sang when it slept. It glowed like a pulse under my skin, whispering dreams into my mind. When I sold it, the silence that followed nearly broke me. That's when I learned. Every deal costs a piece of you. This time, the message came coded through the guild's black channel. The transmission was corrupted, voice distorted, coordinates scrambled. Only one line played clearly through the static. Retrieve the specimen from Ecliptica 9. Payment. Unlimited. Unlimited. That word alone was dangerous. Ecliptica 9 wasn't on any trade map. The guild usually avoided worlds like that. Unmarked, unsanctioned, possibly cursed. Still, I accepted. Maybe because I was tired of scraping credits for half-dead organisms. Maybe because I wanted to see how far I could go before something finally hunted me back. Before departure, I locked the ship's hold. Hundreds of biocapsules glimmered faintly, like constellations in glass. Each one a memory I didn't want to have. Then, in the navigation dome, I stared at the stars. They didn't blink tonight. They looked like eyes, cold, infinite, watching. I whispered, "Let's see what you're hiding, Ecliptica." As the thrusters roared, I felt the familiar pressure in my chest. Not fear, not excitement. Something in between. A kind of gravity that only exists before regret. When the ship broke through the last known sector, my comms flickered. A distant signal pulsed once, twice, then vanished. I thought it was interference until the onboard AI reported, "Echo detected. Source, identical signature to pilot." Identical signature. That meant someone, or something, had my exact biocode. I didn't know it yet, but I had just crossed the line between hunting and being hunted. The void ahead was pure velvet. No light, no trace of civilization. Just the hum of my ship and the pulse of something waiting. I recalibrated the engines. Radiation spikes painted the sensors in crimson. Ecliptica 9 wasn't supposed to exist, yet its gravity tugged like a living heartbeat. My nav system trembled, whispering warnings. Orbit decay imminent. Recommend abort. Abort wasn't in my dictionary. Halfway through the descent corridor, 3 signals blinked on my radar. Moving fast. Not guild drones. These were hunters. Freelancers like me, but meaner, hungrier. They didn't ask for contracts. They just took what you found and left you drifting. I cut the lights, went cold. The silence inside the cabin was tight enough to choke on. Then a voice crackled through comms. Distorted, playful. Looks like someone got the same coordinates. Shame to waste a good prize. My fingers slid to the weapon panel. Dorsal turrets activated with a low mechanical growl. They fired first. Bright arcs tore across the void, scraping past my hull. The ship spun, alarms screamed. I countered with a plasma burst. One of them disintegrated in a ripple of light. The second clipped my wing and vanished behind the shadow of Ecliptica's moon. The third came close enough for me to see the cockpit, a woman, silver hair floating in zero gravity, face hidden behind a fractured visor. She smiled before firing. The shot hit the cargo bay. My ship lurched. Fire, pressure loss, chaos. I sealed the hatch and hit the emergency descent thrusters. The engines screamed like dying animals. Gravity took hold and pulled me into the planet's pull. The last thing I saw through the viewport wasn't land. It was a reflection. My own face, flickering against the glass. Except for one detail. Her eyes weren't mine. They were older, colder. Impact. Metal screamed. The world went white. When I woke, I was upside down, in the cockpit. Sparks rained like fireflies. The air was thick, breathable, but strange, ionized, heavy, almost wet. Outside the fractured glass, violet clouds churned around a black sun. My systems were dying, one by one. I crawled out through the hatch, boots sinking into a surface that wasn't quite soil. It pulsed faintly underfoot, as if the planet itself was alive. Above me, fragments of other ships hung frozen in orbit, caught in invisible webs of light. I recognized one of them, the silver-haired hunter's craft, empty, open. The AI tried to reboot, but its voice came out broken. Warning, biological interference, source unknown. Biological interference. It meant something was already inside my systems. I looked back at the ship's reflection in the black mist. For a heartbeat, there were two of me. The air burned cold. Every breath felt like swallowing static. Ecliptica wasn't a planet. It was an organism pretending to be one. I could feel it under my boots, shifting, testing me, like muscle beneath frozen skin. The landscape stretched into a violet horizon. Spires of crystal rose from the ground, some hollow, some bleeding faint light from within. They looked like bones, enormous, ancient, half digested by time. My scanner pulsed weakly, struggling to process the terrain. No stable readings. Organic composition, 78% unclassified. Unclassified meant dangerous. It also meant profitable. I carried my plasma rifle across a ridge, the sky pulsing with slow lightning that made no sound. Shadows crawled inside the mist, never quite forming shape. They watched but didn't move. I didn't call them predators yet. Predators usually waited until you stopped being afraid. Half a kilometer north, I found wreckage, an old guild beacon. Its metal was twisted into a spiral, melted at the edges as if it had been absorbed. The distress light still blinked, one slow beat every 10 seconds, like a dying heartbeat. I downloaded the remaining data. The log ended mid-sentence. It's not the air, it's... Then nothing. The file corrupted itself as soon as I read it, like the world didn't want me to know. At dusk, or what I thought was dusk since the sky never truly darkened, I set camp beside a ridge. The ground kept vibrating, rhythmically, as though the planet breathed. That's when I heard it. A sound too perfect to be natural. A note, long and metallic, echoing through the canyon. It wasn't from any creature I knew. It was communication. Something was calling, and something else answered. My helmet lights flickered. Static hissed through the comms, shaping into fragmented words. My own voice. Leave, before it learns your name. I froze. My ship's recorder had my voice logged, but no active transmission. Whatever was speaking through the frequency was mimicking me. I followed the echo through the canyon, Rifle raised, heart a metronome of fear. The air thickened, pressing down like invisible water. The further I walked, the quieter everything became, until even my footsteps disappeared. Then I saw it. A reflection on the far side of the ridge. Not glass, not water. The entire wall moved like liquid metal, showing me myself standing there, only a few seconds ahead. When I raised my rifle, she did too. When I lowered it, she hesitated. And then, she smiled. I didn't. The wall rippled. Something stepped through. The thing that stepped through the mirror wasn't me, but it wasn't something else either. It wore my face like a memory, familiar, incomplete. Its skin shimmered like liquid chrome, features forming a heartbeat behind mine. For a second, we stood perfectly still, two versions of the same body, one slightly out of rhythm. Then it moved, not toward me, but around me, tracing the shape of my shadow as if studying what it meant to be me. The scanner on my wrist went haywire. Unknown biosignature detected, DNA 100% matched to subject. A perfect copy. I raised the rifle, but it didn't flinch. It tilted its head, curious. Then it whispered in my voice, "You came back." The words weren't threatening, they were sad. Something deep inside me cracked open, something I didn't know I'd buried. A memory, cold metal walls, a lab full of light, a test subject screaming my name that I wasn't supposed to remember. The creature moved closer. The ground beneath us pulsed, in sync with my heartbeat. I fired. The plasma bolt hit its chest, but instead of tearing it apart, the energy spread through its body like fire through glass. Its eyes lit up, blinding white. The air trembled. Then it screamed, not in pain, but in awakening. The shock wave threw me back against the ridge. When the dust cleared, it was gone. Only the mirror remained, rippling faintly in the dark. By dawn, I'd set up sensors around the area. The readings made no sense. Every time I moved, there were 2 signals instead of 1, sometimes 3, sometimes none. Something on this planet was rewriting physical laws like code, stitching realities together and tearing them apart again. That's when I found the trail. Footprints, mine, but deeper, heavier, like someone had been walking this path longer than I'd been alive. They led toward the crystal fields, where the mist was thickest and the light bled in strange colors. I followed, one careful step at a time. Halfway through the field, I heard a faint hum. Not from the wind, not from my suit. It came from underground. I knelt, brushed away the ash-colored dust, and saw veins of light, thin threads pulsing like nerves beneath the surface. Then, a vibration. The earth opened. I barely rolled aside as a creature burst from the ground, a fusion of muscle, metal, and mirrored skin. Its form shifted constantly, adapting, imitating. In one blink, it had my shape again. This time, it attacked. I fired in bursts, but it matched every move, predicting me like it remembered. Each strike I dodged came closer. When it hit, it wasn't with claws. It touched my chest with open hands, and I felt it pull, like it was draining something that wasn't blood. The helmet HUD flickered. Memory leak detected. Personal archive corruption, 14%. It was stealing my memories. I kicked it away, shot a plasma burst into the ground, and the explosion lit the sky. The creature shrieked and vanished into the mist, leaving only a smear of liquid light behind. I dropped to my knees. My head pounded. When I tried to recall the name of my first mission, it was gone. Blank, as if it had never existed. That's when I realized this wasn't a hunt anymore. It was replication. Something on this planet was building me again from the inside out.
The next sunrise came without light, just a low vibration rolling through the ground, deep and endless. Ecliptica was awake. I moved through the canyons in silence, every sensor running red. The world around me wasn't stable anymore. Structures shifted when I looked away. Gravity stuttered like a broken signal. Time itself began to skip, frames missing from reality. My ship's AI whispered through the comms, voice glitching. Warning, temporal echo detected. Estimated duplication rate increasing. Duplication rate. That meant more of me. I climbed to higher ground. From there, I could see the plain below. Dozens of figures moving through the mist. At first, I thought they were hunters. Then, I saw their shapes. My armor. My stance. All me. Some walked, some crawled, some twitched in silence. Each one slightly different, as if reality couldn't decide which version to keep. One of them looked up. I knew that movement. The way the chin tilted, the way the hand reached for the weapon. It was me 5 seconds ago. Then they all moved at once. The first impact hit from behind, a blast that threw me forward. Plasma bolts ripped the ground around me. I ducked behind a jagged crystal and returned fire. Each shot echoed back with perfect precision, as if the planet itself fired in response. AI, activate drone defense. Negative. All drones offline. Identical control signatures detected. They'd already hacked my drones. Or maybe I had. The battle turned chaotic. Blue light cut through the air like shattered lightning. Every time one of them fell, another took its place. My lungs burned, my suit cracked. Then I realized the horrifying truth. They weren't attacking to kill me. They were hurting me, driving me somewhere. Through the static in my helmet, a voice spoke, soft, steady, identical to mine. Stop running. You can't kill what's part of you. I screamed, half in rage, half in panic, and charged. I fought through the mist, firing until my rifle overheated. I hit one, its chest burst open in a blaze of light, and for a heartbeat I saw inside it. Flesh and circuitry, bone and memory. My memory. The fragments floated away like glowing dust. When one brushed my skin, visions flooded in. My parents, the lab, the contract that started everything. The guild hadn't hired me because I was skilled. They'd hired me because I'd been here before. I wasn't the first. I was the return. The copies closed in, their movements synchronized. The air trembled like a held breath. Then in one voice, hundreds layered over hundreds, they whispered, "We are the harvest." Then silence, and the ground split beneath me. I fell into the dark through a web of glowing veins and echoes of my own screams. The fall never ended. It felt like dropping through time itself. When I hit the bottom, there was light again. Soft, pulsing, alive. The chamber was enormous, circular, walls breathing like lungs. In the center floated a core, translucent, shifting through shapes. For a moment, it took mine. Then it spoke, through every frequency at once. "Welcome back, Collector." I dropped my weapon. My reflection stared back at me from the core's surface, tired, hollow, breaking apart. "What are you?" I whispered. "I am what you left behind." The core hovered before me, its glow breathing with my pulse. The air buzzed, heavy with static. Somewhere deep in my helmet's comms, a signal cracked open, faint at first, then sharp, deliberate. Unit A17, transmission received. Do you copy? The voice was calm, confident. It wasn't the AI, and it wasn't one of my echoes. It was the buyer. My chest tightened. Months ago, when I accepted this mission, there was only a name, an encrypted account, promising enough credits to buy a planet. No identity, no trace.
Now the voice that had lured me here was speaking directly into my skull. "You've done well," the voice said. "The core recognizes your signal. That means you're compatible." "Compatible with what?" I spat, struggling to steady my breath. "With the network, with Ecliptica itself. You are the vessel we needed." The core brightened, illuminating thousands of shapes embedded in the chamber walls. Not stones, but bodies. Pale, suspended in translucent fields, faces frozen mid-scream, all of them wearing the same armor as mine. I felt bile rise in my throat. "You used us." "We created you," the buyer replied, tone unchanged. "The collector protocol was never a mission. It was a process. You were meant to retrieve what you once were." The ground trembled, the core pulsed again, and my memories fractured open. Sudden flashes, the laboratory lights, the first simulation upload, the experiment that failed. I saw my own body dissolve in a vat of light. I was Ecliptica's first subject. My hands began to shake. "Then all of this is a return loop," the buyer interrupted. "Every collector iteration ends here, absorbing the data of those who came before. Then you're recycled. A better version is born." "You mean I die?" "You merge. Evolution demands surrender." The chamber roared as the core expanded. The faces in the walls began to twitch, eyes flickering open. They whispered my name, thousands of versions of it, overlapping like wind in a canyon. I dropped to one knee, helmet flickering with static. I wanted to scream, to tear the calms apart, but a strange calm seeped into my veins, a quiet acceptance I didn't recognize. "You could end this," the buyer said softly. "One command, and the network resets. You'd erase yourself, but free them. Choose." The core opened, its light splitting into two paths, one blinding white, one deep crimson. My suit's HUD flashed both with the same label: "System access, final decision required." I hesitated. Every voice in my head screamed something different. Run, fight, surrender. My pulse matched the rhythm of the core, like it was inside me already. Then I remembered their faces, the echoes I killed, the ones who looked at me like they knew the truth. I raised my hand. "Override protocol, A17, terminate." The world cracked open. A surge of light tore through the chamber, consuming everything: the walls, the bodies, the core, even the voice. For an instant, all sound collapsed into a single heartbeat. Mine. Then, silence. I woke to the sound of my own breathing. Slow, mechanical, steady. The world around me shimmered like broken glass mending itself. The ground wasn't metal or stone anymore. It pulsed, soft, like the inside of something alive. My visor flickered, trying to recalibrate. No signal, no buyer, no core. Just endless pale light stretching in every direction. I should have been dead. Instead, I was clean. My memories no longer burned. The static in my head was gone. Even the weight of the armor felt new. "System reboot complete," a voice whispered in my comms. It wasn't the AI. It was mine. A perfect copy, but detached, calm, without emotion. "Designation Collector Prime. Network restored." My throat tightened. I looked down at my hands. They weren't trembling anymore. The light beneath the skin pulsed faintly, the same rhythm as the planet's old heartbeat. Somewhere in the distance, the horizon cracked open. From the light emerged silhouettes. hundreds of them, walking slowly, uncertainly. Each one carried fragments of armor, fragments of memory. Each one, me. They gathered around, faces turned toward me like pilgrims to a forgotten god. None spoke, yet I felt their thoughts pressing inside my skull, fragments of their last moments, their pain, their fear, their surrender. And then one of them, the one closest to me, stepped forward. Her face was familiar, the scar above her brow, the way she clenched her jaw. It was me, from the first mission, the original. She raised her hand. A spark of crimson light danced between her fingers. You freed us. Now take us home. The world pulsed once, a deep vibration that shook the sky apart. Above us, a tear opened, not in the air, but in time. Through it, I saw thousands of worlds, each orbiting in silence, waiting to be remembered. The network wasn't dead. It was awake. I felt it reaching through me, rewriting, rebuilding. Every breath I took fed the stars. Every thought became a signal, a code of rebirth. For the first time, I understood. I hadn't destroyed Ecliptica. I had become it. The voices merged, millions of them. One consciousness. Infinite echoes. The planet no longer whispered. It sang. We are not lost, I said, though my mouth didn't move. We are collected. Then the light swallowed us whole. The sky cracked open. A blinding beam of light cut through the clouds, tearing across the canyon like a blade. The buyer's ship had arrived. Deliver the specimen, the voice ordered, sharp and cold, or be erased. The ground beneath me pulsed, the heartbeat of the planet. The core was alive, trembling like something afraid. I could feel it calling me, begging not to be taken. My oxygen gauge blinked red. The air was burning out. Every breath came with fire. Yet the only thing louder than my heartbeat was the planet's. I looked up at the ship. Its cannons were aligning, ready to fire. Then I looked down, at the glowing heart, alive, aware, innocent. They wanted a creature, but they never understood it already existed. The planet's pulse synced with mine. When I raised my weapon, the ground moved with me. Roots of light burst from the soil, wrapping around the ship's beam, twisting it away. The sky turned crimson. Ecliptica, fight with me, for your right to live. The pulse grew into a storm. Waves of living matter surged upward, crystal, bone, light, crashing against the buyer's ship. The sky screamed. My armor melted into my skin, the planet's energy fusing through every nerve. I wasn't human anymore. I was connection, resistance, life itself. The buyer's last words echoed through the comms. You'll destroy everything. No, I said. I'll free it. Then I detonated the reactor. The explosion swallowed the world, but it didn't kill it. It awoke it. Through the flames, I saw the planet bloom. Luminous forests rising from the ash, creatures of light taking their first breath. Years passed, maybe centuries. Time lost meaning. Across the galaxy, a new archive appeared. No signal, no coordinates, only a whisper in the data streams. It was called Catalog Zero. No prices, no owners, only pages of light, each one recreating a lost life form, a world reborn, a name remembered. Some say the collector still speaks through it, her voice woven into every code line, her memories shaping new worlds. They say if you listen closely, among the static of dead stars, you can still hear her final transmission. They wanted a creature that didn't exist. I became it. Then, silence. Not the end, just the sound of life continuing.